this woman could ride with me in the front. I said, sure. Well, she was a heavy woman, probably weighed 200 pounds, and she was a Pennsylvania Dutch origin. Her husband must have been a delegate from Reading or someplace like that to the convention. So she got in the front seat, and the burner was working terrible. I couldn't keep the pilot working right, and the burner would load up, and it would pop. Well, that isn't so bad when you're out by yourself on the road. You can get some air blowing through there, and you can kind of handle it. But in this parade, at the speed people are walking, you know, you can't do much. You're there, you're stuck. Well, we'd be going along, and burner would load up, and bang! And she thought that was hilarious. She would break into a fit of laughter. And I would have to, of course, stop and try to climb out over her. And get out with a torch out front and try to get the pilot lit again, because it put the pilot out every time I got it. So after the second or third stop like that, I learned to climb out over the emergency brake. It wasn't easy, but she never got over that. She thought the car was supposed to do that, and this was a lot of fun.
Okay, we're back.
Okay.
Thank you.
For whatever reason, while servicing the main burner fuel system, you've had to drain the service tanks of pressure and fuel. What's the proper way to return them to service? How do you go about draining the pressure off the service tanks? And is the process different for the condensing versus the non-condensing part? So first, how do you re-pressurize the two copper service tanks? We all straightened at cards on the road.
With the pressure tanks empty,
And you drained them back to,
close the drain valve, pump with a hand pump till 10 to 15 pounds show on the gauge, and now add air through the air check valve till the pressure is desired. And when you fire up, it may be necessary to add more cushion. Probably.
okay. How much air are you
will.
going to add?
Pardon me?
How much air are you going to add?
How much air?
In other words, you're pumping up fuel pressure. You're pumping fuel until you get 10 to 15 pounds.
Yes.
And you said you're going to add air.
Then you're going to add air.
How much air? In other words,
You have to watch the gauge again.
and
So
stop
it goes
where?
up to whatever your normal amount is in the fuel system, 120 pounds or so. For non-condensing, 130 for condensing. And then when you try the burner and you find that it's not going in there very well, and when you pump with a hand pump, the needle's moving at 2 to 5 pounds per stroke, you know, you don't have much cushion in there, so you have to put more cushion of air in. Let it drop down to 80 pounds or so and fill it up again to 120 or 135 or whatever. You might have to do it 2 or 3 times before you have enough cushion of air in there. So that when you pump by hand, the needle's only going to move about a pound per stroke.
Mm. What happens if you get too much air in those tanks? In other words, it's running 140, but you got too much air.
Where's the pilot at?
Blows the
Excuse
pilot.
me, I'm sorry. A slug of air goes out, and you can hear it.
Okay.
It tends to be a self-correcting. I've never had that happen where
I
you
did.
use air, but
Once.
generally you run out of air.
Right.
So
Right.
But on initializing it, I can see where it might be possible
You
to
might
get
have
too
too
much.
much air when you're firing up. How would you know it?
You open the the valve and nothing but air comes out, not enough fuel comes out with it.
What would likely happen in that scenario? Burner wouldn't like, but
No.
what
No.
else would happen?
Was that when, what Tom said, you blow out the pilot?
Burner went out in my.
No, that's kerosene side, not
It
the,
normally wouldn't blow out the pilot.
What would it be likely to happen? A lot of air?
Well, you probably wouldn't be watching, but if you happen to be watching your fuel pressure gauge, that slug of air, you'd see it lose about 20 pounds on your fuel pressure gauge.
Drop right down.
Pretty quick, 10 pounds anyway.
Is that enough
And
to,
then as Mark's, or somebody said, it's sort of self-correcting, pretty much, although once you lose a pocket of air like that, it's possible you might have to add a little air again, you might have lost too much.
when you pump fuel in to begin with, is that enough pressure with the fuel showing on the gauge, 10 to 15 pounds, or should you go
Well, the
further
way
than
you
that?
did it, the way you described it is probably all right. I think the way the book used to describe it was to go to 80 pounds with air and then pump fuel. But the trouble with that is your pump might be air-bound.
Mhm.
So I like to pump a little fuel first, but I don't think I'd go to 10 or 15 pounds because if you pump fuel against no pressure until you get 10 or 15 pounds, you're gonna be putting a lot of fuel in those tanks,
Yeah.
probably more than you need,
fill 'em
even
up.
though you go all the rest of the way with air. So I usually get 3 or 4 strokes and know that it feels right, and you can hear the check valve in there, and you're not air-bound on your pump, and then I'll go to probably 100 pounds with air, and then go the rest of the way with fuel again.
Okay.
Well, if you start and the tanks are at atmospheric pressure and you put in 15 pounds, then that's the gauge pressure, then you should have cut the volume in half, shouldn't you? So shouldn't you be at 50% air and 50%
Yeah, but that,
fuel?
I guess you should be, but I think in
Yeah.
practice you'd have more fuel than that, and it's gonna be too much fuel anyway, 50% fuel, I think.
How much is normally in a tank?
Well, the tanks are piped differently. Some of them, they came from the bottom of one tank into the top of the other. And so the theory on that was that one tank was full of air and one tank was full of fuel. But in later years, they connected the tanks top and bottom so that your level in both tanks should be the same and about half or less than half full, I'd say.
how do you drain the pressure off of it?
That I didn't know.
Is there a valve sort of in the back of the cart near your fuel tank?
For
Where
which
you
one?
put air,
No.
where you put air in?
drain?
The pressure off the service tanks.
Service.
Oh, okay.
I'd have to look, I didn't get a
I
chance.
pushed the little Schrader valve and let it out again.
Bob, there's a,
You'll get fuel right
You get
back
fuel.
out of that.
That was an idea.
We can use fuel.
Huh? Hmm?
Crack one of those. There's a piping across, that goes across the top. Just open that.
no.
There's easier ways.
There's
Yeah, we
a,
can-
there's a valve next to the fuel automatic that can lead pressure back to the tank.
Well, it's different on all the cars.
It's different on the cars.
Up to about 1909, I don't think they had any provision. And then they had a valve near your, somewhere toward the back of the car on these kind of models. And you had to put a can under. And then later, as Jerry says, it was piped back to the tank, so you just,
Yeah.
bypass pipe.
Yeah, it's in the pump, in the 3 condensing, or at least I know 2, I don't know about the 14, it's in the pump blocks. Crack the valve and it sends it around and back out.
Huh.
And I know underneath the 71 to 76s, those Tom said valves in the back, and the can deal. Those 2 are drained.
The early ones that don't have provision for draining them, you know, you can, again, blow it out through your clean out caps at your forks, the best way, and then you don't have all the fuel out, you get all the pressure off of it. pressure off of it, then you could disconnect the fitting at the bottom of the tank if you had some reason you needed to get all the fuel out.
If that pressure, you know, goes like bypass valve, can you pump the pump? Would the pump still pump?
It would try, I don't know that it could
Let you
keep
pump
it
it
up.
right
It'll
back to
pump,
the
yeah,
tank?
mine will pump.
Like if the tank got airlock, could you open that valve and try to get the prime back by pumping? Would that be,
I don't think it would help you
Would it
because
help?
it probably returns to the top of the fuel tank. I don't think, is that what you're saying?
yeah, I didn't know if you
Bypass
opened that, would
pipe?
it just pump the fuel right back into
Oh.
the tank? So
Well,
to
it
maybe
it
get
might
the
be
air
a
out
way
of
to,
the pump
it
or
might be a way to bleed your pump, yeah.
That's what it works on the condenser pumps.
Yeah, that's why I primed mine initially was with that hand pump.
If you thought maybe you had some errors, I didn't know if it would just kind of.
Till it got up to, I guess it was 80 pounds and blew the fuel filler out of it.
So it wasn't something you wanted to do then?
Well, no, when you're using the hand pump, it's pumping against the check valve right off the back of the tank, or coming out of the tank. So the fuel filter is into pressure,
And they can't use it.
okay? And the one I had on there couldn't handle it. The, the pump one, no, it was actually a small metal screw on with a canister. The whole thing came out of there. The pump doesn't pressurize that line back to the tank, because it's got two check valves in it. But the hand pump does pressurize that whole line.
That's why
Please
the
don't.
originals were cast iron, huh?
But if your fuel pump's quit and you can't pump fuel pressure, the first place to look is that check valve coming out of the storage tank.
Now that valve that drains those service tanks is not the pressure retaining valve. But when we've done classes, folks have looked at that and said, oh, I'll open that, that's the pressure retaining valve.
Then you lose it.
Then you lose everything, that's what I'm saying, that valve has been mistaken for, oh, that's the pressure retaining valve on a condensing car.
Gotta paint it a different color, yellow.
You know, where the valves are.
It's under the seat or something where you can't normally get to it. It's never up under the dash, is it?
No. Water pumps need priming. What's the proper way to reprime the water pumps? Is there any difference in the procedure for non-condensing versus a condensing car? So you've walked
For
through water pump.
non-condensing, you just bypass the pumps if you're driving along, and they should reprime themselves, and then you,
And that's because, why?
because the water goes back to the tank
Back to
and
the
the
tank, so
air
there's no
goes
back
with
pressure.
it. Right.
And
Okay.
the tank's
you-
usually higher than the pumps too.
If you run out of water, that's the way to do it. You just drive off and bypass the pumps, and in 20 feet, usually, they're reprimed, and then you just,
Sometimes.
well, it happened to us. And that,
When you have to jack it.
Okay, which wheel?
Right.
Right.
For condensing and non-condensing?
the pump side for the or condensing, which is what, the right side?
This is the right side.
The Model T, you jack the left side to start it.
What happens if you jack both wheels off the ground?
Somebody hold the other one still.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, the differential will work.
Yeah. How do you do it for a condensing car?
Condensing car driven off the axle, not the engine.
How do you prime the pumps for a condensing car? You can't bypass it to the tank.
You gotta loosen up the cap,
Check valve.
top of the pumps. The check valve cap? Check valve caps.
Okay.
And then run the, jack the wheel up and run the pump.
There's actually an easier way to do that instead of messing with those things down in the pump box.
The valve under the dash, can you,
No,
no?
because that actually closes it off to the
Yeah,
tank,
right.
but you're close.
I'm not a condensing man.
It's the water automatic. crack the line on the water automatic from the pumps and just let it squirt out with the water automatic. That'll bring both pumps pumping without getting to the caps and all that mess.
Unless your balls are stuck or something.
Yeah. Plus it primes that line up to that automatic. Because typically what'll happen is when you stop, that thing will try to shut off and say the boiler wants water. So those pumps won't want to reprime for a while. So you've got to get rid of that air, that back pressure.
Yeah, the way I said with the non-condensing might not work, as Tom said. The check valves might be stuck on the pumps, and you might have to tap them, and if that doesn't work, loosen the caps and see what's going on with let the air out or see what's going on.
I know on the 76 you've got to run the wheel and pop the caps loose. Because there's a jumper line that gets air back, and it will come through that line.
Well, we went somewhere last summer, the 87 and the 607, and Butch ran out of water in the same place he ran out of it last time. And the guy at the gas station was very nice. He had a hose and everything. He opened the place up and got the water to him, and he went down the road. He went 20 feet with the pumps bypassed, and
Came right back.
they primed, so. Isn't that right?
Before you move a Stanley that cannot be moved under steam pressure, you need to check 3 important things about the car. What are they and why are they important?
You've got
Open
steam
and
pressure.
pressure.
You're going to move the car and it does not have steam pressure.
Take off the handbrake,
Open the drip.
unlock the throttle,
Okay, still,
get off the handbrake.
okay. Handbrake I'm not worried about.
Open the drip.
Open the drip is one.
Open the throttle
Open the throttle
and bypass the pumps,
and bypass the pumps. Those 3.
Water pump.
The water pumps.
water pumps.
If you had to tow a car on its own wheels, how far would you be safe in towing it? You would need to do those 3 things that Bob just mentioned. But how far then would you feel safe to tow it if you had to tow it?
Not real far, because of the engine and the oil and
Yeah.
if
Not real far, but
if
you'd be all right for 2 or 3 miles,
but that,
not real far.
The-
So if you needed to tow farther than that, as we used to do, because we didn't have trailers, and we tow with a self-steering tow bar on the car's wheels, we'd have to jack the engine out of gear. Put a block in there so the engine wouldn't turn.
well, that Packard, the Bill Rule ended up with, as you recall, when we moved that from where it was parked all those years, those rods seemed pretty well lubricated still after all
Yeah,
those
we
years
thought
of
the
sitting.
engine would be frozen,
Yeah.
it wasn't.
So that goes to show you how terrific that cylinder oil is.
So you actually pulled the motor away from the gear?
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to loosen your back nuts and you have to somehow
Just in
jack it
case.
apart, you know,
So
it
you
has
used
to
to put
be
a
3/4
spacer
of
block
an
in
inch.
there and then
Yeah.
flat through?
Yeah. Just enough so the gears are out of mesh.
Tom, if it was a condensing car and you did that, would you have to do anything with the pump drive, or would that,
Well, as long as
Just
it
everything
was
being
bypassed, as long as it was bypassed, it wouldn't hurt anything. They probably wouldn't pump if, they might, depending how long since the car had been running.
Now, the engine oil flops around and lubricate that differential and the gears and all. When you jack that thing away, you've lost the lubrication on that differential.
Yes, because you have to take your engine case off to do that.
You're putting it out.
And you're
Well, so
exposing
I'm
it
thinking
to,
it's now gonna be no oil after a while.
Go slow.
and you're exposing it to all that dust.
How
Get a
far-
trailer.
How far
Sure.
did you tow a car like that? Like, did you used to tow it pretty?
300-400 miles. But I guess we would maybe oil the engine occasionally, because You couldn't have the case on there when it was Giant Park that way.
Why is it good practice to hold your foot under the hookup pedal on a Stanley when starting out on an incline? And what's the cause of the problem?
Wants to go into reverse,
Wants to go into reverse,
but I don't know why.
You stop the chatter,
huh?
to stop the chatter. If you hold your toe back, you'll stop it from
Doesn't
sitting there.
drop.
Okay, but why is it chattering?
Why does it go into reverse?
What's the pedal do?
Puts it in reverse.
It's a
It
changing
changes
pedal.
the way the steam enters the engine, the valve.
Right.
So I don't know why that would be automatically done when you're on an incline. Ed may know. I know it.
Well, if you, I always thought you weren't supposed to put your foot
You don't want to end up in the car behind you, you better put your foot under the pedal
under it. Yeah.
to hold it up.
Hold it in full forward.
And I'll also tell you, don't the throttle real fast because
Yeah.
your foot will never hold it. Because all you'll end up doing is impaling your foot between the floorboard and the pedal.
That's what I was talking
So it's an open, slow on the throttle. But why does it want to,
Well, it's
Trying to
the
overcome-
pressure's trying to.
Overcome the linkage.
and throw it into whatever.
Yeah, but why does it do that on an incline?
I don't know. I give up.
And it does,
The
too.
spring isn't strong enough to hold it out.
Understand valve motions a little bit. You wanna explain it, Bob?
Go ahead.
I'll take a stab at it. The Stevenson link is a very primitive valve motions. Steam locomotives in Civil War days had Stevenson link because it was the simplest. And all Stanley engines had Stevenson link. So Stevenson link compromises a lot of things. In order to get maximum autonomy and decent water mileage, you want to use as little steam as possible, so you do what we call hook up. Well, you know, on a Stanley, we only have one notch of hook up. We go into that one notch with the left pedal. When you're in that first notch of hookup, you're only admitting steam for maybe 35% of the stroke, and you're using the heat that's in that steam, the expansion, to push the piston the rest of the way. So you're only using steam to push it, we'll say 1/3 of the way. This is oversimplification, but, and then you're using the heat that was in that steam to go the rest of the way. Now, when you are running slow and when you're in unhooked position and you want maximum power, you need more torque than that to get started. So you're emitting steam for more like 5 or 70% of the stroke in order to do that. But you're never emitting steam for 100% of the stroke. If you did, and again, this gets a little technical, but if you did, with the Stevenson link motion, simple motion that it is, I think it would retard to the point where you'd have no lead. Now I know I'm getting over your head, but it would probably work fine as far as starting the car. But once you got moving, your timing would be all off if you were trying to admit for 100% of your stroke, and you wouldn't want to do that or just use it to anything. So what happens in this situation that we're talking about is that even when you're in the unhooked position, your pedal is back, and you feed a little steam on an incline. One side of the engine is 90 degrees from the other side. One side will probably be at a position where that instead of that 65% going in where it's supposed to, it's trying to go the other way. As soon as it starts to go the other way a little bit, you get the full force of steam going the other way, and it will throw your linkage completely over the other way, and back you go. I'm afraid I've confused you, maybe I've confused myself. Maybe you can,
Well, what I was gonna say is that you've seen that curve piece in there, the actual link. That thing's running off eccentrics off the crank, and it sits there and rocks. And you get that in an angle at a certain, it won't always happen going up the incline, but that rod in there that's setting those valves wants to push it across because of the steam pressure on one half of the engine or the other.
And the
Depending
steam,
on how the valve, it's all sitting. So that's pushing that rod back the other way, which is kind of what the hookup pedal says, what side of that linkage you're sitting in. And the rotation of the crank and everything has got that thing sitting in such a way that wants
It wants to go.
to shove it to the other end of it.
and stronger than the spring that's
And
trying
it's
to hold
stronger than the
it.
springs and all that are holding it. And so holding that thing up there holds it up against the corner of that slot, doesn't let it flop to the other side.
So it's almost like it goes over center.
You won't go over center into the, because as you hook up, what happens is that rod moves closer to the center. There's no motion right in the center of that thing. And so that's, so what you're doing is you're coming off the corner of it with the pedal and coming up part way. Okay, so you get very little valve motion. And then when you go to reverse, you go across the other side. If you rotate that engine in certain ways, you'll see that alignment gets to the point you can back force it and basically overcome the spring.
Why does this tend to happen on an incline?
Because the engine's not wanting to move. It's
It's working.
I've noticed that if you start to drift back, that's the
that's
sign
absolute worst.
it's gonna
Yeah.
happen.
yeah.
Yeah.
If you're drifting back, if you're moving backwards and you put steam on it, it's gonna
Really
Keep
flip
going.
back.
go back.
And it's,
That's when you have to be most careful.
Yeah, the thing to do is hold the brake and actually take off and put steam to it and then release the brake a little bit.
and
And
those mechanical brakes won't do much going backwards,
No, they won't.
yeah.
which is another thing to
You gotta
remember.
use your hand and your foot.
Yeah, and the drift maybe.
In the end,
So you need 3 hands and 4 feet.
And one time we needed somebody to hop out and get a ride.
right? Don't go back.
You guys wonder why a locomotive has a fireman.
You'll always take the hookup off when you're going on an incline if you're going slow, as a precaution, or,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that condition would be worse if you were hooked up.
so you always take it off.
Because it would be more, closer to being on the center and it would throw over and reverse easier.
In fact, both cylinder sides would be very close to center now. So catch it real quick.
Now, how about if you have a good, you're going up, like we do on 82 here, we're going up the hill, we've got a good head of steam, you're going there. You
Well, it
still on hook?
It won't, well, it won't flip into reverse on that condition if
Okay.
you move.
Well, you got your momentum too.
But
Right.
I guess my rule of thumb is that if it's a pretty good incline, maybe anything under 10 miles an hour, you should be unhooked. And above that, you can hook up. You don't have to stop to change it, you know, you
Well, that condition affects how I approach an intersection. First of all, avoid an intersection where you're gonna have to try and pull out like the top of Snuff Mill Road there
Right.
at 52. But I'll, if there are cars ahead of me, I'll slow down long before I get there so that the intersection's clear. When I get up there, I have the best chance of being able
Yeah,
to keep
so you
going.
don't have, you have to stop the wheel motion.
Yeah, I don't wanna let the car
And when
stop
you're
in that.
following another steam car, give him room, don't get right up on him. Let him have that room ahead of you in case he can't get started, then you don't have to.
When we go up through Kennett Square on 82, we usually come over one block because it's such a bad hill there at the traffic light on South Union Street, and that's a tough place to have to start.
Yeah.
We go out Snuff Mill Road to, 52,
Yeah.
and that's just up that hill. If you get one coming around that curve and you stop on that hill, I've had it with 76,
Yeah.
no one behind me backed all the way down and just
Yeah.
on up.
Yeah, that's a bad one, too.
And when
You
we
and
went
I-
driving, I said, there's got plenty of shoulder, just,
Right, we wear it up on the shoulder. Yeah.
Yeah. bicycle path.
Yeah. So,
I think another thing that aggravates that condition, Bob, is with the full elliptic springs on the car, the engine and the gear can move under the body, and the pedals being attached to the body, and because they are solid rods,
moving that,
as
yeah.
you load that thing and the engine's moving relative to the car body, that's, on some cars, it seems to be way, way worse.
I hadn't thought about
I
that,
think-
but that's a good, real good point.
I think that has a lot to do with it.
Hmm.
Because the perch pole only maintains the wheelbase, that the car can still rock over top of it,
And the pedals are moving at that point relative to the engine.
relative to the engine, and
I
that
thought
can
about
initiate
that.
it.
Jerry Lucas knows, and maybe Mark Hopkins, and Bill, I guess, knows that we have a strange condition on the mountain wagon, because it doesn't apparently have much hookup on the pedal, but if you look back at the quadrant there on the engine, it looks like it's all right, drops into the notch, and then, if you're by yourself in the mountain wagon, it'll work okay. You get that mountain wagon loaded, and you can't hardly tell the difference on that pedal when it's hooked up and when it's not hooked up. And yet that's only full elliptic in the rear. It hasn't even got full elliptic all the way around. But it must be that it's a different length or something. And
As the
it shows
suspension.
difference.
A Stanley boiler will siphon absolutely full of water if allowed to fully cool after being used and blown down, provided there are no leaks in the system. Explain how and why the boiler siphons. List all the reasons you can think of as to what might cause a boiler not to siphon. So what causes it to siphon?
Water cools and shrinks.
Shrinks. Where'd the water come from?
Steam.
You didn't blow it down then when you got done?
Yeah, but there's still some in there.
You need steam.
Yeah.
Okay. So the steam condenses to a vacuum and that's what
Yeah, it's sucking the water.
sucking it in.
Now, if you have leaking seals or you left the valve open or closed or something.
Specifically which,
Could be a bypass.
Name or temp.
Bypass has to be closed.
bypass valve's supposed to be
Bypass.
closed, so that, okay.
Blow
Throttle
valves.
packing, or throttle itself is open.
I would think a blow off valve would leak, that would lessen your vacuum
Yeah,
condition.
that might do it.
Yeah.
Pump packing leaks.
Pump packing leaking,
If you have a steam whistle valve, that might do it. Would it?
okay.
Check
Or a stack
valve.
blower.
Stack blower could do
blower
it.
valve,
Check valve.
check valve.
Any of the water pipes have a pinhole in them, or loose flare nut. Supply hose,
Mhm.
hose clamp. Water tank could be empty.
Water tank could be empty, or not enough water.
Suck out of
Air in the system between the tank and the boiler.
It's a miracle they siphon.
Not enough steam left to siphon.
don't always say them right now.
The throttle could be leaking.
But some cars are very reliable. Mark, you have to say that 16 almost always siphons. So has it ever not siphoned?
Not that I recall.
Yeah,
It always
but some of them are
I think the funniest thing on that 87 was that check valve, that boiler check. We went in the trailer that night, and all you did was tap it, and that thing started. That was what it was, that boiler check.
You're on your third day of tour and you notice the car doesn't seem to want to steam properly. Driving along 20 to 25 mile an hour, the boiler pressure runs in the area of 425 psi. If you get a long downgrade, the pressure will come up to 550 psi where the burner might shut down. You stopped alongside the road on a couple of occasions, removed the main burner nozzles and jets and found them all clean. Fuel pressure is a good solid 135 pounds all the time. Water consumption's fine, so there's no leaks in either the supply, water, or the steam systems. If you sit on the side of the road, the steam automatic shuts down the burner at 550 and relights at 500. What else is the likely causes of the problem? And how would you go about figuring out what the problem is and correcting it after you discovered the problem? So you've been out touring,
You skipped on that.
and you've been going along 20, 25 mile an hour, and the boiler pressure is running at 4 1/4. Typically at that speed it should be running up 500 or so. So if you go down a long downgrade where you're not using steam, it does come back up. Burner nozzles and jets are all clean. Fuel pressure is there. Water consumption's fine. Steam automatic's working. What's the causes?
This is when you say, John, it was working when I was driving.
That's that car too.
It worked. That was the day I rode with you in Canada, just so much talking about. What did we find?
Well, I thought this was about Vermont with the 725. We had a problem with the forks was choked up where the top nut, basically where the forks enter the end of the vaporizer tube right near the top nut.
Okay.
Those were choked up. And so you have to find that and clean it out.
So clogged vaporizer or forks is one cause of it.
So that happened to us.
It's also could be the choke around the cable in the vaporizer.
Vaporizer cable's another one.
I don't like my fuel filter.
No, fuel filter I do like.
Cushion of air low?
Hmm?
Cushion of air low?
Most obvious thing you had to mention.
Yeah. There's two of them.
Your nozzles are choked.
Oh, I said the nozzles are fine, you clean nozzles. I took that one out of the picture. No. There's two real obvious ones that we've already talked about both devices tonight.
Steam automatic.
Steam automatic can be sticking.
You said the steam automatic.
You told me it wasn't.
You said it wasn't.
You said on the side of the road, it did everything it was supposed to.
Right, but it can be sticking. In other words, you're not using steam, so it's sticking to the point that you've got a low fire rate. So it comes up to pressure and does shut off, drops back, but it's not firing hard. It's the condition that this is actually describing. So you're getting fuel flow, but not enough.
So it almost acts like clogged jet.
So and clogged vaporizer would do that.
It acts more like.
Sticking steam automatic would do that. There's another one that would stick.
Burner forks can be choked up.
Burner forks. Low water cutoff could be restricting.
Yeah, that's right, that could be
Okay.
stopping the fuel.
Well, let's go there a minute. It could be, and it probably is because the water level's low. We had that on one trip. Car wouldn't fire right, and the water level was low. We had to stop, jack the wheel, and pump the water to satisfy that low water control.
Okay.
So don't start taking the low water automatic apart, figuring it's stuck or something. First, make sure that you got plenty of water in the boiler. Don't not believe that thing's doing what it's supposed to.
Any others? You're on a tour and a leak occurs. What's the proper way to patch a leak in each of the following till you can get the car home or back to wherever to make proper repairs? Starting with the boiler fluid. Plug both ends. Feed water heater water lines. What?
Well, you can't plug both ends without dropping your burner and probably taking the bonnet off.
He didn't say that, Tom.
He said,
I'm not on the tour,
he
he
said
is.
to get back home. Now, you're not gonna get back home.
You don't wanna do that.
It's tow truck if you have to do that.
Okay.
But there might be a way to get back home if you're not too far. Oh, come back home on 200 pounds instead of 500 pounds.
I'll come back on 200 pounds.
Feed water heater was a bypass.
Right.
Superheater.
Can't you bypass that?
You really don't wanna,
Their fuel.
you don't wanna run on wet steam, really.
If you get
Gonna get you
home.
Get you home.
But you get you home.
Yeah, I guess it would, but
Okay.
you gotta be darn careful.
Tear if you want to, just so there's.
Steam,
So what do you do to the superheater? Bypass?
Bypass.
bypass it.
That wouldn't be easy to do, but
No.
it could be done.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't normally carry a bypass pipe for that.
Engine steam delivery pipe that's between the vaporizer and the engine.
Beer can into those pipes.
Mm-hmm, that would work, if you can get to it.
Do what?
Beer can and two hose
Beer
clamps.
can too. I was gonna
What
say-
was it in Canada, we went looking for,
Between
Yeah.
what and what?
the line that goes from the vaporizer to the engine, goes underneath the floorboard.
You mean the superheater? to the
No,
engine?
from the superheater back to the engine. That,
Yeah, but it's not vaporizing.
Yeah. The superheater, not the vaporizer.
that's
Superheater.
right, I got the,
You
okay.
mean the superheater.
Yeah, I meant the superheater, I've got vaporizer in it.
You should put a piece of rubber in there, not just a regular.
What was it we were looking for, a piece of can for? Was it in Canada? We went along the road looking for a soda can to fix something
They
that was
carry
leaking.
cans in for a nickel in Canada.
It was either Canada or New
We
England.
put it around the steam automatic because it was leaking water or something.
Yeah,
And it, you know, it didn't really matter, but we thought that would help. Try and keep it dry.
engine exhaust piping on a condensing car.
Another piece of rubber and two clamps.
Patch it.
That's,
Something on the boiler water delivery piping.
Reclamp it.
You reclamp it if you can. Now, this could have 600 pounds pressure on it.
You mean fix it to that pressure or fix it so it'll stand that pressure?
You gotta fix it till you get back, until you get the new piece of tubing if you don't have it on you.
You gotta run low.
Well, you,
Without losing your pressure? You can fix it without losing your pressure?
On the water side, from the pump up, I might put a piece of rubber on it and
Oh,
put it,
okay, I see.
and clamp it.
Okay.
Because you shut the car down, there goes the pressure.
Yeah. This one, Ann's going right. Some steam cars have a steam enema. Where is it located? What's it do? How do you properly use it? Are there any precautions to be observed when using one? Huh? Why?
Take the tape
Why
out.
do I have cable?
Yeah, the cable comes out.
yeah, pull it out first with pliers.
that's the one you shot across the field.
And don't touch it till it cools.
Next one, we've already talked about the hookup pedal, so I'll skip it.
Why
Why
you
should,
skip 16?
Yeah, 16.
okay, we'll go back to that one.
All right.
Why should steam to the engine always be dry and not wet? What damage can be done with wet steam? What are the symptoms of wet steam being fed to the engine? If the steam is wet, how do you protect the engine until you get dry steam to it?
Open the drip, let it run.
Open the drip.
Okay?
Bypass your water.
With that steam, you'll hear a clanking spud or something, or a little, maybe.
You'd be sluggish.
It'll be sluggish or something else.
That bursts the power.
Surging.
Search.
Remember stepping in jello.
Right.
That's what it's gonna be like, you know.
Priming, it's called.
What's causing it?
Water's
What's
getting up into the superheater and it's
Too much
flashing
water,
into
Too much water in
steam.
the boiler.
Get from, or something. What damage?
What damage to the engine?
Could blow the heads off.
Bend the piston rod.
All the
Blow
above.
packing out.
Not a good thing to do.
As soon as you feel it, either getting sluggish or surging, something else to do besides all of those? Hmm?
Stop.
Open the drip,
Well, not necessarily stop, but slow down.
slow down.
You can lean back on the throttle,
Hmm?
ease the throttle,
Yeah,
Take it real easy until it
clears up.
and it's gonna be worse if you're going uphill. If you get the rest of the way up the hill and level off, the conditions should get better.
You get, excuse me, you get like a knocking noise when it,
Well,
No,
you
it
can,
wasn't
but you
answered.
probably wouldn't if you're on the road. Sometimes, you know, we fire up here and if we have a little too much water in the boiler, when you first start to move the car, it'll jerk a little bit and that's water in there. But that's, and of course your drip is open, but even so, it can't get rid of that water fast enough. So you get, and of course, that's not good for the engine, but it doesn't damage anything when you're half a mile an hour or 1 mile an hour, because you have those guys. That would normally not happen on the road, but it could. I mean, you could have such a slug of water in there that it would not, but if it knocked, it'd probably about ready for a head to blow out.
well then is that the reason for like going back and forth when you're starting?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the reason for working water out of the engine.
If it's in there and you're going slow, there should be enough time to lift the D valve off its seat and let the water out. It's one of the sort of good things about the slide valve. But going fast, it can't relieve it fast enough, and you will damage the engine.
Now, you could stop right away and blow the boiler down some, couldn't you, to get somewhere in that water?
Mhm.
Yeah.
That would solve the problem fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. You've been driving a Stanley for several hours and you stopped for some sightseeing. Looks like a thunderstorm might happen, so you decide to get back as soon as you can. Since I'm going back to 16 because it's related to this. Steam pressure is sitting at 375. Describe the process you'd use to prepare the car for returning home. The description should be an ordered listing of the things you check, do, think about, etc. from the time you return to the car until you got back on the highway.
Number one, put the top up.
Okay.
Well, I would make sure the pilot's good and strong.
Right.
Tickle the pilot.
You got the water in for the motor problem.
Yeah. Doesn't have to check. Car's been sitting. Try top?
Lower
Okay.
And how would you tell them to try cop?
Well, the closest one to the bottom gives you, what, 3 inches or 4 inches of water?
Yeah.
You wanna get water out of it.
You want to get water out of there and not steam. That was the point I was looking for. So check the water. What else?
Check the pilot, make sure it's got enough pressure in it for firing up.
Well, tickle the pilot we've talked about.
No,
okay.
check the pressure in the tank. Make sure it's got enough pressure in it for firing up again,
Okay.
if it's a non-condenser.
Well, then I'd probably start with the firing up valve.
If it's a cold day, you might want to heat the burner or forks with
Yeah,
a
you
torch.
could warm the forks some more, right.
Okay.
Pump the fuel pressure up if it needs to be pumped up. Open the pressure retaining valve.
Pressure, yes.
Make sure the parking brake is set. Open the drip.
Make sure the drip is open.
Open the throttle a little so
Crack
the
the
steam
throttle.
moves through the superheater
Mhm.
and you can hear it. Sometimes you might want to open the hood and the flue to start with, depending upon how low it was.
Yeah.
And then go through your firing up procedure. Do you want to go
Okay.
through that?
Firing up in the main.
Still got some more.
Okay.
Gotta rock the car back and forth.
Well, that's the engine fired up, right.
Okay.
Warm up the engine.
Then load the passengers and leave.
That's sort of a faint hope, get back as soon as you can.
But don't fire it up all the way. Only fire it up to 400 pounds or so.
Yeah, you could get rolling.
You don't want to,
On the road.
you want to get on the road before you,
Well, Ed took care of the important
Yeah,
thing first. He put the top up.
Gotta install the standing gutters on the top so that they would turn the rainwater to the water.
Yeah.
Your water in the water tank.
Yeah, you need to make sure you have fuel and water.
Why is conservative operation with gradual starts recommended? What damage can be done with fast starts?
Order in the cylinder.
Gradual start, you said, right?
Yeah, and these things are 100 years old.
got all
Well, the manual even says to start out gradually,
Does
because
it?
you can bend the piston rods. If you push the throttle open too
Or the wheel
fast.
may sit there, but the spokes may get down the road.
And these cars,
Yeah, you can feel it, you can spin the wheel inside the tire and pull the stem right off the tube.
Okay.
yeah, especially when the pressure is low.
I cut a valve stem off of the mountain wagon going from here to the museum with it.
Tom, it was in a hurry. It was gonna rain.
Gauges, water indicators, and the like are essential, but may deliver questionable or misleading information on occasion. These devices should never take the place of common sense and observing a number of pieces of information to ascertain the big picture of how a Stanley is running. If one or more fails, how would you know it? How do you check various things to pinpoint a problem?
This is the final exam.
Give us some for instance here.
Question.
Yes. Well, I guess gauges should be moving.
Yeah.
They shouldn't be static all the time. And certainly that's true with things like the fuel pressure and the sight gauge. And not so much with the pilot, but that moves some.
That moves some.
And your steam pressure and so forth, they need to be moving in relation to what you're doing with the car. So if they're not, that's one way to figure out something's not working.
Well, what you're doing with the car is as important as what you've done with the car in the past 15 minutes to a half an hour. Because if you've been driving along and pressure's not varying, you start to question why isn't it, because you've been opening and closing the throttle.
That's
Going
right.
up hills, you'd expect steam pressure to drop.
Right.
Water level, as Bill was talking about here, you'd be expecting it going around curves to see things happening. There was one example you gave about, you talked about looking at gauges, and I forget what it is right now.
Oh, you mean Charlie Johnson's story, somebody asked him if it was easy to drive a car?
No, it was something about,
You know, as if you put, you have gas in the tank, you drive 300 miles, the gas gauge doesn't.
oh yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, on some of these questions that Bob asked, you guys gave the right answers, right down to everything we can think of. The problem might be something that we haven't found.
Yes.
And that's why you have to be resourceful as much as you can be. And it's not easy for people in 2003 to be resourceful because we expect everything to work 100% correctly all the time.
Yeah, that's true.
But in 1910, they didn't expect that, so they were a little more used to having trouble.
You're driving along country roads on a fine day. How should you be driving the car such that you're getting maximum use of the steam that the boiler is generating? Being hooked up, yeah.
Medium throttle.
I won't give you that one.
Gently accelerating,
Gently accelerating,
driving at a reasonable speed.
yeah.
Driving at a slower speed is better for
Bill, but
not using as much steam.
Anticipate the hills, Bill, that Bill's.
Yeah.
Yeah, anticipate the hills, close the throttle when you're going downhill. That's why I wouldn't leave it medium.
That's all right.
Start down the hill going slow,
Yes,
especially with mechanical brakes.
yeah.
Pump water going down and not going up. If you know where the hills are.
Yeah.
Mhm.
we go on steam tours, Tom goes whizzing on past us, and we're all worried about the cars. He's been on these tours before, working the car, and we're still trying to
Guess what's going on next, Rick?
work the
What's around
process.
the next bend?
Repair grate, or repair patches, sewer grates, manholes, and generally rough road surfaces can damage a Stanley. While a Stanley driver has little control over road conditions, what can be done while driving a Stanley to minimize the effects of the road on the car?
Slow down at railroad crossings.
Yeah,
Right?
if, try to
Avoid,
miss the,
avoid holes and grates and
Avoid holes and
stones
grates.
and-
Actually, something that I've come to do with the railroad crossings, because that steering wheel wants to rack, so I don't hold it tight. I
yeah,
actually let it move itself a little bit, because it's not gonna,
You never drove this car, did you?
no, I've never driven that one. But at least on the 76 and the 71 and my 730 and the 735 and all, I'll loosen up on it and let it
Or a-
let it move so it's not fighting fighting me.
Or a tiller car.
That may be.
must be like
We don't have crown roads much anymore, but, and even if we did, I wouldn't recommend driving up in the middle of the road, but in the old days, they did to save tire wear, because if you're over on this crown all the time, you know you're wearing your right tires out all the time.
You pull over and let modern cars pass.
Yeah,
Mhm.
don't run very close on the car ahead, let modern cars get between if there's several in the procession.
Don't follow a modern car because they'll outbrake you so bad.
Yes.
You won't know what's going on.
Don't follow anything close.
Yeah.
But especially a modern car, because when they climb on the brakes,
Well, they'll pass you and
Jump
slow
right-
down, that's,
and they'll do that too.
that's number 26.
Watching, go off the road.
Yeah, I got to my parents tonight, and the Lexus is, my father's Lexus is all pushed in. He's driving along, the light turns red, he stops. The woman behind him thought it still was green, and she tried to put the bumper into the car. When driving a Stanley as part of a caravan Stanley's going to a parade, show, or similar, it's important not to run either too distant or too close to the Stanley in front of you. Cite the various reasons why optimum distance between cars are, we've been talking about that.
Yeah, bad.
What's a good distance?
Yeah, but what's a good distance? That's what I would like to know. Just depends on
Yeah.
temperature.
Ken?
10 miles?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it depends on your speed.
Stanley car, not modern car.
It depends on your
Not mountain
speed,
bike,
too.
not mountain wagon, let's see. When.
One thing you didn't say about covering the car behind you with oil. So
Yeah,
that's another reason I can be too close.
Ask Roseanne. What'd you do now?
No, Jim was driving it. When we went over
Jim
for.
was driving.
When
Got
we
the
went,
Packard rust proof, did you?
I kept telling him, when we went over for the opening of the Wilmington and Western,
Okay.
we followed the steamers over to Green Bank.
Oh, I remember seeing that.
Yes, and I kept telling him, don't follow too closely, don't follow, I'm not. When we got him home, it had these little spots all over. He goes, what is this? And I said, winker oil. That's all it was. Took her quite a bit to get it cleaned off too.
Do it every time.
Hey, what's a winker?
Hey, you didn't bring it up.
What's a,
We went through those parts when we went through
Right.
the last time, when we went through all the individual parts, what they are and what they do.
Okay.
and we remember?
I
yeah.
hope.
An indicator that when the oil line to this,
Okay.
I mean, that's something to be watching while we're driving. You want to be checking that with your gauges.
Something else.
with your third eye or your fourth eye.
Yes.
A little red dot. in the middle.
You're going to take one of Tom Stanley's out that you haven't driven in several months. As the valves are not always in standard locations between various months, how would you go about figuring out what valves do what? For the sake of this question, the answer, ask another steam team member, is recognized as how you might confirm your thoughts as to what each valve does.
Follow the plumbing.
Read the labels.
Not all of them, most of them don't have labels.
Follow the plumbing, see where it goes.
yeah, different length too means a lot on them.
We're supposed to have log books in the cars now, you can read that.
Okay?
I would follow the plumbing.
So let's follow the plumbing back, basically.
And a
There's some
different,
standardization in lengths,
yeah.
for firing up valves.
Main is usually the longest on
Yeah.
the non-condensing stem.
Last question is, riding the brake pedal in a Stanley will cause brake fade, whether it be the old mechanical brakes or the hydraulics. How does the heat being generated from riding the brake pedal cause brake fade? How would you descend a long hill that requires the use of the car's brakes to limit the speed? What is the braking problem associated with backing a Stanley that doesn't have hydraulic brakes? And while use of the engine to brake the car is not generally recommended, how would you do it if you absolutely had to? I think there's only 2 people in this room experienced in doing that.
Well, riding the brakes expands the cylinder, the brake drum, makes it a different, you're trying to get a